I thought this would be easily doable. I thought this would be no problem whatsoever to do in like, I was like, okay, we got 3 hours. This will be easy. And then I saw that the list was this long. So this is every Savage fight in the game. They have included Coil Savage, but not Coil Normal. In A Realm Reborn, Coil was the only difficulty, right? It was the difficulty. And then they added Coil Savage specifically and only for second Coil as a challenge mode. And these challenge modes, I wouldn't say are harder than today's Savages, but they are far harder than most Savages that came immediately after. And they're also very different styles of fight in terms of design. So what I think we would do for now is we would skip Coil and come back to it later when we have a baseline. I think here's the best way to rank. D can be replaced with skip it in weeklies. A fight so bad, you get to it in weeklies and you're like, boys, what if we just skip this floor? Nobody needs to loot that bad, right? Could we just not do it? I don't like this floor. This fight's arse. That's the worst. I think that's the greatest indictment you can give a fight. Skip it in weeklies. Better than Brute Justice. So Brute Justice, full disclaimer, Brute Justice, this guy here, is my favorite Savage raid. So I think better than Brute Justice is an easy top tier, yeah? Okay, we'll start here. So one of the main mechanics of this fight, right? You're going to see them spawn in a minute. Yeah, this is Bow Mage, back in the good old days. You get these alarms. And if I remember rightly, the main mechanic of this fight is that when you kill an alarm, it's going to drop a puddle of goop on the floor. And when you stand in this puddle of goop, it makes whatever touches it small, which means that they take more damage, they deal less damage, and for now it's just a hazard, but later on you're going to use it for a mechanic. Also, there's 2 oppressors soon. Sorry for the spoiler. There you go. There's the second oppressor. You have to tank them apart, and you also have to kill them at the same time, because the other one enrages when one dies. These are like the crux of the fight. These are nuclear bombs that are going to hit the arena. And obviously, when a nuclear bomb hits the arena, it is going to hurt quite a lot. So what you do to deal with it is you take the alarms and you kill them underneath the trajectory of the nuclear bombs so that they make them small when they go in for impact so that the raid wide is survivable. So we'll watch that play out, and then there's like one more thing from this fight to show, I think, and then that's about it. But other than that, it's like tank busters and AoEs and shit. Yeah, this was when the servers were bad. See, you can see the nuke coming down here. And because it went small, it doesn't do anything. But if it was big, it would certainly do something. In hindsight, this is a normal mode mechanic nowadays. This was fucking scary back in the day. The thing that gets me most when we watch old fights like this is just watching how simple they used to be compared to now. A lot of what was a mechanic to solve in early Heavensward is an intuitive mechanic now, where you see it and you can just do it. Like, I feel like every mechanic in this Savage, you could just do within 1 or 2 pulls now. Whereas if I remember rightly, I'm pretty sure world first of this fight took like 14 or something hours. Bards use mana. Yes, their songs use mana. What you'll see, we'll go back to the start so that you can see this easily. I know we're talking about a job here instead of the fight, but that's okay. So if you just watch, he's got Faux Requiem up, and whilst he has Faux Requiem up, his mana is just going to passively tick down. And if he drops his song, his MP will start regenerating. So your MP is your resource for using songs. Actually, I have a funny story about this fight. So this was the first ever Savage fight I ever did, right? Ever. And I did it with a group from my free company at the time. It wasn't my free company, I was in it. And they took me in, and this shows you how much healers have changed, by the way. They take me in, I'm on White Mage, and they say, don't worry about doing damage, you can just heal. And at the time, I was like, oh my god, they're so cool. I don't need to deal damage, they do so much DPS that I can just heal. What I've realized in hindsight is it was actually the scholar wanted to get a pass off me. He just wanted to sit there and spam fucking broil the whole time while I solo healed. Oh my fucking god. So my first ever Savage clear was me being a heel cuck whilst he just sat there and spammed DPS the entire fight and did like one sucker. I was the fucking heel cook, but I didn't even know. I was like, wow, he's so cool. He does so much damage. It's like, yeah, because I'm doing all the healing, everything. Right. I'm getting off topic. So I didn't talk too much about the Oppressor in terms of whether it is a good fight or not, and that is for a reason. The Oppressor is the most okay fight in human history. It's okay, I guess. It is the standard in the mid-off. Its key challenge comes from the fact that those mechanics sometimes happen at different times. It was very WoW-coded design, and also from the fact that it does a lot of damage to you. That's it. The mechanics were not super interesting. It wasn't a very FF14 fight. It was okay, I guess. Okay, let's look at A2 now. This is a fight they have never repeated in FF14. A style of fight. There is no boss here. This is ads. So the main thing about this fight is you see here, there are 3 Gobwalkers. That's all you get. Somebody can hop in these Gobwalkers, and the Gobwalker can knock away bombs that will spawn so that the party doesn't get nuked. It can CC certain ads. It can weaken certain ads, and basically the puzzle was figuring out which Gobwalker actions you need to use to which ads at which time without running out of actions. That's like the quote-unquote puzzle of this fight. So this is literally just dungeon trash, but it hits hard. That's it. But every ad does different things. I don't remember what all of them do here. I'm pretty sure the hard mind and the hard hell need to be separated or something. I think that's a thing. Maybe the hard mind is buffed by the soldiers. Again, I can't. It's been so long, I don't really remember. And you see here, they're putting vulnerability on the hard helm. These 4 stacks. That's from the Gobwalker. The Gobwalker put these stacks on him. So you see this guy, Eternal C. See one of the dragoons. This guy. He's just in the Gobwalker. He's not doing anything. Look, he's done with his Gobwalker. So he's just standing there. He's just fucking chilling. No, there's no reason to DPS the bomb. You just want to pull it away. The difficult thing about this is how do you judge this fight, right? Do you judge it pragmatically or do you judge it based on the fact that it's unique? If you judge it pragmatically, I genuinely think it would be skip it in weeklies too. But it does some things that are really cool. I think the Gobwalker was implemented badly, but it was a cool idea I would have loved to see come back a bit more. The concept of a player jumping in a mech and providing like essentially crowd control support to the raid with limited resources is really interesting, right? Maybe if they weren't in it the whole time, it would be better. Like if there were the opportunity to you hop in for 20 seconds, you hop out, you hop in, that would be cooler. I think the idea is much better than the execution. So I'm going to put it on skip it in weeklies tier. Because I skipped this fight in weeklies for real when I was doing this tier. Bro, when I was progging Living Liquid, I skipped this fight every week. I did A1 and I skipped to A3 every week. I didn't give a fuck. I think we have to appreciate something about Living Liquid. Living Liquid is the progenitor of Protean. This is where it comes from. Look, this is Protean. This is the Protean. It's Mr. Protean. So this fight was the wall of this raid tier. One of 2 walls this raid tier, because the 4th turn was also a wall. I think the thing that made this fight so difficult is that it had multiple phases that were very distinct from one another. And FF14 fights before that were very WoW-coded. This kind of marked a point where they started using very, very distinct phase transitions. I think the true progenitor of that was Nail, actually. But this was another example of a fight where they had like these phase transitions with completely different things to worry about in each phase that were not the case beforehand. So you essentially had to learn like 3 different fights back to back. And also this fight was like a fucking insane numbers check at the time. It was very tight on the DPS. It was very tight in the healing. And later on, there is a phase that just removes one of your healers from the fight. Oh yeah, so this is where Hand of Pain is from as well. So this fight was the progenitor of Protean. It was also the progenitor of Hand of Pain. They're going to split. There we go. There's 2 hands. This is Hand of Pain. You might recognize this from T. You have to pull them apart or pull them together, and you have to keep them in a rough HP from one another. Otherwise, they will slap the floor and enrage. It's literally... T is... There you go. That was a Hand of Pain. So it doesn't look like it here. These hit giga hard. Just for context, I want us to look. So he has Tank Stance here. There's Convalescence. He has Foresight. And he has... This is a Dark Knight Rampart. This here. So he has Rampart, he has Foresight, he has Convalescence, he has Fey Illumination, and he still gets chunked for half of his health just from a random cleave that they do constantly. And then after you solve the Hand of Pain check, Hand of Pain goes on for a while, it changes into this Tornado phase here, where you can't damage Living Liquid. Living Liquid is the Tornado at this point. Your goal is to kill the Lubricant. For some reason, I had never clocked that they were called Lubricant before. But your goal was to kill the Lubricants. And it was designed in such a way that you were not supposed to have the damage to kill all of the Lubricants. So you would have to like space out your crowd control and stun them. And then this was also the progenitor of the Magnets. How the fuck do they work? This was the first time Magnets, how do they work happened. So basically, it's and these tethers are tank busters. These are tank buster tethers, I'm pretty sure, if I remember rightly. No, White Mage did not have lilies. This was before any job had like job gauges. Job gauges were a Stormblood thing. We're just gonna play this phase out because, and I mean it when I say this, I think this is one of the most influential phases in FF14 raid history. It's a fight where all of the mechanics it asks you to do are simple, but it creates this really difficult, intricate dance from them. I think this is a really cool fight. I think we're going to get Hands soon? Maybe Hands in a little while. Was this boss harder than T? I mean, it took longer to kill than T. If you're asking relative to the player skill at the time, yes. If you're asking, like, you put them up against each other now, definitely not. And now he's gonna phase, and he's gonna do periodically more damage with each cascade. So you see this marker on the healer, this only goes on healers. This marker is the sad marker. This is the marker you do not want. Because if you get the sad marker, you don't get to play the game anymore. Now you're done. I don't know if they're going to do it, but groups used to like fizz ranged or caster LB. Yeah, they do it. See, they used to fucking LB3 to make sure that this died. So what this guy is going to do is he'll pick up a healer, and he's going to walk him off the edge of the arena. Don't die, forehead. I was eating yogurt. I muted to eat yogurt, and then I never unmuted. Okay, so what I said, we have to change Better Than Brute Justice into just Brute Justice, because there is nothing better than Brute Justice. And then I said that this fight has to go in the top tier, because it's one of the most influential fights in the game's history, and also on content, one of the most memorable. This fight is fucking peak. It has to go in Brute Justice tier. It's so good. This fight ruffled some feathers. If you want a bit of context to place yourself in, this fight, aside from Twintania, which was bugged, was the longest progression in FF14 history. Living Liquid died on day 1 of week 2, and this fight didn't die until month 2. It took like an extra 25 or 26 days just to beat this fight. So this fight is really weirdly designed. Basically, the core of this fight is that there's these 4 legs, right? And you're going to have to kill the legs one by one. When you kill one leg, the others heal. And every time you kill a leg, you get a chance to deal damage to the core, which is what you have to kill. So here, these will target one player, and they'll just float into the arena, and you need to get... You can also take them if they target you, but they deal percentage damage. So you ideally would get people to block them. You see that animation there? That thing coming from the boss? That leeches MP, if I remember rightly. I don't know if it does TP as well, but it leeches MP, and it would target random players. There was also a Tank Buster one, and you would need to like have somebody silence it to prevent the MP leech. 3 Jackdolls are going to start spawning from the 3rd leg onwards, and also a Straffdoll. And this is doll feeding from T. You have to get the Jackdolls low and feed them into the Straffdoll, and the Straffdoll will explode them for amount of damage based on their remaining health. It's not binary like T. You could feed this and theoretically survive if you have Mitt. This ad has an enrage called Whirlwind, and if Whirlwind goes off, he leeches everyone's mana to 0. And I remember that a strat that some people used to do, I'm not saying this is a good strat, but it's a strat that some people used to do, is they would just let the Strathcott doll go off so that they didn't have to DPS it. They would just be like, yeah, fuck you, healers. Better use Shroud of Saints is what it was called back then, which was Lucid. And this is going to repeat again. So now, this is Nisi. This is the first ever iteration of Nisis. Nisis are very simple in this fight. There's two Nisis, a blue one and an orange one. If they touch each other, they go boom. You want to keep them for a mechanic later. The Nisi nobody did. Some people did them. I actually remember this group talking about it after they cleared. They had I don't know if it was multiple pages, but they had a really big spreadsheet of how they planned to do all of their Nisi trades for the fight based on who would get the first one. So they would have this like long fucking list with permutations for different people getting the Nisi throughout the fight. Because the core mechanic of this fight, right, is later on something will spawn called a pentacle. There'll be 5 of them. Nisis are the only way that you can soak a pentacle and survive. You need to run into them to stop them from enraging. So you would need to maintain the Nisi for like, how far? We're 6 minutes in now. I'd say like 5 minutes at least before the first pentacle appears. So you need to trade them every 30 seconds, dealing with the heavy dot that they inflict. And here they're trading it to the tank. So the tank is going to be taking heavy autos whilst dealing with Nisi. And I think the thing that's interesting about this fight is just how much damage it deals. It's like a full group-wide mitigation and healing check. That's what this is. So these are pentacles. So you see this guy, he trades over the Nisi to the healer. He cleanses his pentacle, and then he runs through to pick up Nisi again. And then this guy is gonna go cleanse a pentacle, and then they're gonna trade it back, and he's gonna go do the third one, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. It gives you a vuln, so you can't take them sequentially, but you can do it with 2 people. So that's like the main mechanic that you need the Nisis for. You deal with all this difficulty in order to maintain the ability to do this mechanic. What most people did is they would just sack to the pentacles. All of the mechanics individually are pretty chill, but the things that make this fight hard are doing all the mechanics whilst juggling Nisi and dealing with the healer. Those are the 2 things that make this fight from easy to hard. He's casting Cure 1. I mean, look at his mana. He's doing everything he can to keep people alive. This is back when healers don't have a million OGCD tools either. So he's about to just run dry of healing full stop. Bro is sat there praying for his assis to come up. This is the sack strat, see? This is what people would do.
Coldy sack one. Coldy just sack. Get the Braver.
Don't worry.
I got you. Yeah. We got 7 seconds. Come on. 50k. You can do this.
Come on.
50k.
Come on, guys.
Come on.
20k. Come on.
I think they're happy. I think it does a lot of things wrong, but I do think that Nisi management is really interesting and is a lost art in FF14. So I'm not sure which one of these I would put it in, but I would not put it here. I think it's either okay or good. I think it's okay. So this guy, he has a big boy phase and he has a small boy phase. He actually takes more damage when he's in small boy phase. I'm pretty sure in speeds they would delay burst for small boy phase. And the way this works is there's a pole in the middle. And when you stand inside it, you take heavy dot damage, but you spawn 4 puddles on the cardinal directions. And each puddle does a different thing. The green one, if I remember rightly, clears poison. This one here, I don't remember the color, but it is the east one, will turn you into a gorilla. The west one will turn you into a bird, and the south one makes you invisible. And you need to use them to solve puzzles. Snakes are spawning, and these snakes are gonna throw poison on people. There is one that makes you bald and pregnant. Yeah, this one here, the blue one is the one that makes you bald and pregnant. See here, these are the poison. They stack up over time. I think it's if they hit 8 stacks, you die forehead. These guys are going to be cleansing their puddles. There we go. I'm pretty sure there's a mechanic here somewhere in this fight, like a meta mechanic, where you can only take a certain number of puddles in general, or at least puddles within a specific timer, but it never really becomes relevant. Okay, so these are normal bombs, and this is a bomb that will do a plus explosion. So the way this fight works in general is they'll spawn configurations of bombs. Easy way to solve it is you just knock all of these bombs into a plus bomb and dodge the plus bomb forehead. That's what everyone just did. So they can do it here, see. They should be doing a boost here, yeah. So the boss at some points will slam the floor a bunch, and birds can avoid it because it's on the ground, right? There we go. This guy, aside from being called a gobbledygoper, he also tethers a random player, and whoever he tethers tanks him. So you go invisible so that you're no longer tanking him, and then he has normal aggro. Over here, you see some yawn pigs, some little guinea pigs. Over here, you see a minotaur. The minotaur really wants to eat the pigs. There's also an ad that does a gaze. I think there's a snake, but maybe the snake's later. You don't want to let him eat the pigs. He wants to eat the pigs, but you see, there's the gobbledygorker over there. He does, like, petrifies that you need to look away from. So basically, they're tanking the Minotaur away from the pigs, and they're killing the pigs as quickly as they can. If he eats a pig, it's his equivalent of a monster energy. If he eats a guinea pig, he gets giga strong and will just fucking kill you. And then slightly later, a snake spawns, the same snake that puts poison on players, and you want it to poison the Minotaur. I think he eats the snake and it poisons the Minotaur, and then obviously he dies at 8 stacks, like a player would die at 8 stacks. That's like the puzzle of this phase. It is a puzzle fight that can be solved in many different ways, right? And it has full player agency, which are things that I like from puzzles on FF14. You can solve all these puzzles in like 4 different ways, and many of them have their own upsides and downsides. And it's got a bunch of boss movement. The boss also moves around a lot of his own volition. All of the ads do different things. There's a lot of moving parts, but all the moving parts are easy to learn. There's a lot of damage management between the boss going big and small, and you might be considering, am I going to hold burst for this bit, for example, because the boss is about to go small, so I'll do more damage. Very cool. I think it's either good or great. I think it's good. Why are we watching him play like this? Nah, he can't be real. He's not real. Okay, so this is 4 bosses back to back. You wipe to a boss, you go back to the start. Each boss has totally different mechanics. So you've got Blaster, then Brawler, then Swindler, then Vortexer. This is where mines and hidden mines come from. These are mines, avoid. This is a hidden mine, take. There used to be... This is post-nerf, because there used to be 2 hidden mines. They nerfed it. They nerfed this fight. I just remembered that. This here will spawn clones, and the clones will dive bomb. Standard Final Fantasy XIV ad phase, hit the things. This is Blood of the Dragon, right? You can't see the timer because it's too grainy. But this is Blood of the Dragon, which is a buff you want to keep up. Blood of the Dragon lets you use Gear Skogul, and Gear Skogul has a 10-second cooldown. But every time you use Gear Skogul, you lose 10 seconds on Blood of the Dragon. So you can't just spam it. So and you can gain timer on Gear Skogul by using the 4s of your combo, like Wheeling Thrust and Fang and Claw. So you would basically be juggling, how can I keep up Blood of the Dragon and get as many Gear Skoguls as possible? That's like the key job mechanic. And obviously you still have the Blood of the Dragon button itself every minute that refreshes. So that's why you see him not using Gear Skogul even though it's available here. And he'll probably use it quite soon because he has a lot of timer now. Yeah, see, he uses it here because he's got over 20. This boss is kind of a nothing boss, though. It's literally just hidden mines and clones. The way I used to remember this mechanic, basically the clones are going to do arms. And if they do arms up, they want to hug you. And if they do arms down, they don't want to hug you. And you never want to give them what they want. That's the way I remember this mechanic. So arms up, they want to hug you, so you have to look away from them because you don't want to do what he wants. Arms down, he doesn't want to hug, so you have to look at him. You watch his arms, and he'll have 4 mechanics based on his arm. He'll have single drill, which is go away, it's proximity damage on one random person. He'll have double drill, which is baited on close and far. He's got single cannon, which is buster, and double cannon, which is stack. And over time, he's just going to spawn chakrams. And the goal in general was to skip the 3rd chakram spawning. If you had good damage, you would skip 3rd chakram. If you stand under a chakram, you get paralysis. Okay, so this is green orbs and purple orbs. Green orbs are tank busters. little small orbs you kill, and then he's going to keep doing his arms at the same time. And then there's going to be big orbs that spawn later. And you need to see these, and you need to crowd control these to make sure they don't hit the middle at the same time. They do big damage when they hit the middle. Alex just does everything. So this is height. If you get high arithmetic, which is this one, you need to go low. If you get the red one, you need to go high. And then there's 2 enumerations. If I remember rightly, this was really easy because the enumerations would always go on a tank and a healer. So you would just light party it. You'd just do melee ranged. This ad phase, everyone used to just fucking caster LB this. I'm going to be so real. People didn't do this. See, they tank invuln, caster LB, and just nuke them. That's what everyone did. I don't even remember what you had to do for this normally, because people were just... I've never done it without caster LBing. Oh my god, phlebotomize my beloved. So there's thunder and there's water. Water is a stack, but not with too few people, and thunder is a stack, but not with too many people. These are going to be line AoEs, and you need to drop baits beforehand. And obviously you can use these fire beams to destroy water because you can. Because you can. So this is the first water and thunder going off. Water goes off, thunder goes off. It trades when it goes off. So these are fires. You're going to want to destroy this. There we go. So they've destroyed the second water, and then it's super cyclone, so you get behind the ice. And then it just repeats. I think that this is a really good fight. I think this goes in It's Great. This is the reason that I put A5 in It's Good, because I knew this was going to go in It's Great, and this is better than A5. Okay, let's look at A7. So the main mechanic of this fight, we'll just skip to it. The main mechanic of this fight, aside from these bombs that you need to spread out forehead, are the jails. There are 4 jails. They don't all spawn at the same time. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. You'll get different jails at different times. But each jail does a different thing. And a different role has to take each jail. There's a fire jail where you can't move. I think there's an... If I remember rightly, the fire jail is that you cannot move and there's an ad in there with you. And you can't move until somebody on the outside has destroyed the padlock and broken the jail, and then you can move and kill the ad. There is an ice jail with a big ad that does knockbacks, and I think you need to be a tank to survive it. There is a green jail which has a poison vent on the floor that will poison the entire raid, and you need to stand on the vent to block everyone else from taking it, and then only you take it. Oh, it's silence and DPS check, so you can't send in a caster. Because you would send a melee into one and a caster into the other. So basically, you can trade who does certain jails, so it will be getting the jails on the right people at the right times, and then dealing with the jails. And then in between, there would just be raid damages and bombs and beams, and a fun little phase coming up soon, where he just spawns balls that roll around. And when you're at over 100 ping, these were the worst thing ever. And there's the True Heart, which you can crowd control, and you have to kill before it gets to the boss. And you might be going, damn, why would you kill it before it gets to the boss? That's not what you do in T. Yeah, true. It's true. You do the opposite. All of these mechanics just overlap in different ways. Here you get a different phase. Oh, if you take damage while you're on the spikes, it gives you giga damage, so you can't be on the spikes when you take damage, basically. These guys will bait puddles while this guy stays away with Searing Wind. I'm pretty sure this shuts off your healing GCDs from doing anything, so you have to use off GCDs, which is why this person is standing in a bubble. It's coming down to the wire. He's hit LD. Okay, they did it. Wait, somebody had already cleared? Imagine your first clear and somebody's already cleared. He didn't even get 2 chests and it's a static? That's rough. Okay, so I think that this is the weakest fight from Midas. Like, clearly the weakest fight from Midas, but it does some interesting things. I think the thing that Midas does really well is it is a very choice-driven raid tier. It's challenging, but there are many ways to solve many mechanics. And I think that's what makes it one of the best raid tiers. But I think that the jails are not very interesting, and they are the central mechanic of the fight. So it's okay, I guess. This was an interesting puzzle, actually. We should highlight this. So this is a DPS exclusive puzzle. Supports don't do anything here. They don't do fucking anything. They just exist. The 4 DPS will get debuffs 1 through 4. and they need to take that many instances of damage. And there will also be orbs that will spawn, 4 of them. I think it's 5, actually. It's 5, isn't it? Because the healer gets 1. Yeah, it's 5 orbs. And you need to take that many instances of damage from the orbs, but you cannot take your own. And the orbs do percentage damage as well. Is it more base? I think it's more if there are more people in it. Like, if 3 people take it, it does 75%. If 2, it's 50. If 1, it's 25, I think. And if 4 take it, it's 100. We'll see here. He's taking 2, so it's 50. And another 50. I think they always do it with 2 here. Okay, so we don't get to see. Now, this phase is arguably the hardest phase in the fight. This is A6S, but you will fight all of the robots and deal with all of their mechanics. Not all 4 at once, but back to back. The next robot will spawn on a timer. And that green thing is they can't be close together. See, he's doing his arms, so he's doing stack here. This guy has silences and stuff, and he will spawn a clone of himself. The clone needs to be pulled apart. This is Swindler. So he will make... Now that he has spawned, there'll be up and down heights. And there'll also be enumerations later. I think one important thing to know about these guys is they have a mechanic when they spawn that will start straight away. And then they get a second mechanic when they hit 50% health. So you're like controlling your damage to push them at the right times. They all have a mechanic that they start with. Height, for example, height is this guy's initial mechanic. Enumeration is his 50% mechanic. This guy, the silence is his initial mechanic, and the clone is his 50%. This guy, the orbs, is his 50%, but the arms is his initial. And then Vortexer over here will do thunder and water as his 50% mechanic. Nowadays, it's probably very manageable, just because every expansion, the baseline skill of the player gets higher, which means the raids get harder, right? But up until this point, this was really hard. This was a lot of stuff to juggle for FF14. So you're going to rotate around the boss as a stack. The prays are going to take damage that they need to spread away from people for, and then the boss is going to do a beam. It's pretty simple mechanically. It just hits really hard. You always had to make sure these guys had extra mit. And then it will repeat. And then we're about to get, after this repeat, we're about to get a trio. Really, this is the first trio. It's just every fucking robot mechanic you can imagine. It's literally robot bullshit go, yeah. And then BJ respawns, and he just does all of his mechanics again until you kill him. And this is where people would expect the fight to end, right? This is before the time where there were hidden phases, before the time where Savage got exclusive content. This is where the fight ends. But it just doesn't happen. He leaves, and he does another trio. This is another trio with, like, all the robot mechanics that you didn't get last time. They'll have a double drill, there'll be hidden mines. There's going to be the huggy robots where you look towards them or look away. There's going to be chakrams. There's going to be enumerations and a block. Super Cyclone into enumerations. I don't think I was, but I can guarantee you, if you went back and looked, probably about a week after Savage releases, I guarantee you there's posts all over the FF14 Reddit going, there's a version of Brute Justice with wings! I guarantee you. Like 100% that happened. This was like a giga hype moment for the community, finding out that BJ had a hidden Savage only form. There are 2 Nisi jails. Everyone gets a debuff. These are kind of role-based, so it's not that bad. The numbers need to have that many number of debuffs at the end of the mechanic. Some people get jails. The tanks get HP. One needs to be max HP. One needs to be minimum HP. And obviously you'll see here that you start with these as well. A number of instances of damage you need to take. But these count as a debuff too. And so do the debuffs that require a certain number of debuffs. And you also gain a debuff from standing in here. You get Final Flight. So you're basically looking to cleanse the instances of damage, but on some people looking to cleanse them at the right time in order to make use of the fact that they're a debuff. And you use the orbs and the tornadoes to generate debuffs and also cleanse instances of damage. You can also use auto attacks from the boss to cleanse instances of damage, and then the tanks need to be max HP and min HP, and the jails need to die. That's kind of this mechanic. Everyone will do something slightly different based on that. I wonder if these guys do sack strat. And then Gavel casts. See, these you'll see here, these guys use these instances of damage debuffs to fulfill the requirement of having 3 debuffs, and they keep an orb until the end, and then they cleanse the orb afterwards. Chakrams are going to be spawning, they're going to be checking the safe spots from the chakrams as they prepare to go off. Enumeration plus water. So what you need to do is you need to have the people fulfill the requirements of the enumeration, but everybody that isn't doing the enumeration needs to be hit by the water, so they need to be just outside it. You can tell that they have died to this in Rage to damage because they've got MP song on. They've got MP song on. They're like, fuck this. The healers need mana. Give bro MP. Uh-oh. Yeah, they kill it. Okay, I'm not even going to talk about why I'm ranking it here, because everybody already knows this is my favorite fight in the game, so it goes in Brute Justice tier. Shocker of the Century, Brute Justice goes in Brute Justice tier. So the core thing about this fight, he sits in the middle, the boss doesn't move, he grows arms and slaps people. He's going to tether things. Each cycle there's going to be different adds, and if you let things tether into him, he will reassemble and gain buffs / enrage. So you have to stop that happening, right? You have to stop him being able to eat adds. What you end up doing is there's adds here, there's 3 here, and I think there's another 3 here. You can use these little devices to bring adds to life, and then one quadrant of the arena will destroy them. That's how the mechanics work. So you want to pull adds into the section that will destroy them. So he pulls them all in, and then everyone kills them in this segment so that they'll be eaten by the lava that spawns, instead of letting the boss eat them. Away from the lava, please. You heard the man. Okay, so halfway through the fight, Full Metal Faust comes in to nuclear bomb people. This guy's a criminal. So this is like the main challenge of the first half of the fight. Really the fight in general, though, because often it just would die after this. Basically, the lava quadrant of the arena is going to rotate over time, and you need to correctly judge which quadrant you kill Faust on, because he is making the boss take almost no damage. And Faust does a lot of... He cleaves and does a lot of damage, and there will also be like stacks and spreads and drop rocks and hide behind them and shit like that. It's pretty simple. Mainly just this guy hits hard. So if you had decent damage, you would kill Faust here. This is the second puddle. And if you had shit damage, you would kill Faust here, which is the third puddle. That's how it went. So they're expecting to have good damage here. They're expecting to have good damage if they're trying to kill it here. But if you had shit damage, you would kill it here. And now, because they killed Faust, you do nothing for a minute straight and you just DPS. Here's an alarm, which you may remember from A1S, which we watched a little bit ago. He will drop a puddle when he dies, and the puddle makes you small. I think he always tethers to a healer, if I'm remembering rightly. But somebody else can take it. Don't know. No, it's the first person who hits him. It's just you would have a healer take it. The first person who hits him, he tethers to. So there's the puddle. And you would use the puddle because the boss is going to do something called double scrapline. He's been using scraplines throughout the fight, and they're like 270-degree cleaves. Double scrapline is 360, so you can't dodge it. But you can get small, so you go under it. I don't know if it's bad enough to be skip it in weeklies, but it's definitely no better than it's okay, I guess. This is an incredibly mid fight, and I was very disappointed when I did it. This was my first time, like, not really, I didn't do hardcore, but I was in a group that did like every evening at this point. Before I was in a group that did like 2 evenings a week. I was very disappointed by this fight. We killed it like halfway through evening 1. I think we'll reserve skip it in weeklies for fights that I think are outright bad. Do I think this fight's outright bad? I kind of do. It's a bad fight, okay? It's a bad fight. We'll watch Team Tilted clear A10. The core mechanic of this fight is that he will have 4 telegraphs, and they will each do different things. One of them is a stack, one of them is a spread, one of them is an in, and one is an out. So this one, I think, is stack. Sometimes he will do multiple back-to-back. There are also 3 buttons that will do different things. This button that sometimes he jumps on them, you can also jump on them. This button will root people for a few seconds. One of the buttons will shoot ice on the sides of the arena. What does the third one do? The third one brings the hammers down. So this is the root. Oh my god, it's M9. Was that on patch? Pretty sure it was on patch, yeah. It was definitely Creator that we got cooldown reset for. I think it was just in 7.4, yeah. 7.4, 3.4. That's why this raid tier was killed so quickly. Partly. It was also easier, but this was partly why it was killed so quickly. I think it was killed in like 3 days or something. And from here onwards, for like half of the fight, it's literally just repeats of things we've seen. I think this is an interesting bit, if I remember rightly. Actually, I think we skipped an interesting bit. Where's the bit where he spins around? Oh, here. This is the interesting bit. So this guy, he just starts tornadoing around all over the place, right? If you touch him, bad things happen. I think you ping pong off to the edge. What you want to do is you want to... Whoever tethers to him, which I think is always a tank, needs to bait him over to the edges of the arena, and then you can shoot him with ice to cool him down, because he's on fire, right? So you see they're hitting the ice button? Oh, he's just taking it. You can just run in after you've baited it. You don't have to do what he did. You don't have to take it. He just decided to for some reason. He was like, fuck the healers. I'm not moving. I think that's a cool mechanic. Gobslice Mooncrops knocks you back. So you need to use the root on the floor to hold yourself in place. So I think this is it's okay to. It's an okay fight. It's okay, I guess. It's okay, I guess. I think it's just okay. I don't think it would be reasonable to rate it higher than A7. He does different patterns of optical sight. Sometimes he'll do Shiva ones, sometimes he'll do ones that force you to go to the edge, and he'll also give you AoEs at some point that force you to spread whilst doing that. He also spawns Ed. Life has many doors. And Ed Boy will gain a piece of equipment partway through his life, and you need to insta-kill the equipment because it makes him strong. Kill Ed. There we go. The Armored Pauldron is shattered. That's what it's called, the Armored Pauldron. Okay, so this is Limit Cut. Everybody's gonna go cleave dash, cleave dash, cleave dash. People would just deal with it like this. You could kind of do it wherever you wanted. Oh, these guys actually don't deal with it in the way that there was a standard back in the day. The standard would be, if you're not being used, you'd stay in middle, and then you'd do like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like that, and you would just swap in and out. That was like kind of the standard. Whereas these guys are doing the same kind of thing, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7, 8 swap out. Can I just say, it is crazy to me that this guy is playing with like the lock-on thing. It like affects the way that you can move around the arena when you're locked on. I could not imagine playing with that. These are photons. They reduce you to 1 HP, certain people. There'll be mechanics revolving around the photons later, because there's going to be a persistent dot. A boss leaves, you jump up. In hindsight, this mechanic is crazy. The entire mechanic... This is the whole mechanic. There's nothing else. You just grab a duct, and you jump on, and you watch. And then you click a button at some point in the 4 seconds you're allotted to do it. That's the whole mechanic. There's nothing else. There's nothing else. You could skip this upcoming phase if you had good damage. Well, it wasn't really good damage. Basically, the way it would work... this was an interesting fight to optimize, actually. If you push the boss below 60% here, you skip the upcoming phase. But if you push the boss too low on the phase before, he also skips mechanics there. So it's this interesting juggling act of how hard can we push the boss without skipping the earlier phase because we want to skip this one instead. Okay, so now you have 3 towers, right? And the way these towers work is they each have health. And every time they take damage, they lose health. And if you lose all 3 towers, the arena falls apart. Sometimes it's unavoidable. Like if the boss does a raid wide, they all take damage and you can't avoid that. But sometimes you'll get like puddles and you need to hit 1. Or you need to try and avoid them entirely. Or you need to save 1, and you could handle this in any way you wanted. That was like the main mechanic of the end. It would just do mechanics from earlier, but you needed to protect towers. So here he does a GA100. I'm pretty sure the GA100 will do damage to all these. There you go, see 85. They all lost 15 HP from the GA100. And this one's going to be hit. Now they're all at 65. And here they're taking damage. Now they're in the 50s, sub 50. One of them's at 9. So what this group made the decision to do is they're like, okay, we make sure that all of the AoEs hit. It doesn't matter if they hit 1, but we protect the other 2. I haven't thought about where I would rate this fight. I do think this is a good fight. It's a very heavy execution fight. There aren't any real puzzles in it. But it's a really fun execution fight. It's either good or great. Is it good or is it great? What do you think, chat? Is Cruise Chaser good or is it great? I think it might be great. We might have to give it great. This ad phase hits really hard. This is just kill ads. There's nothing else going on here for now. And then these 4 spawn. They're going to do raid wides on a periodic timer. So the goal is to kill. You can't you don't want to kill them all at the same time. You want to kill 1 or 2 really quickly so that you reduce the raid wide damage. So you'll see people, you'll see like half the group insta-gib this one. They're focusing on insta-gibbing one, and then they're going to rotate around and kill them whilst you have a couple of people hitting the last one. See, one's dead already, and then that's the first raid wide. And now they're getting a stack, you see here. So they're going to do more damage each time. There's 2 dead. This is a raid wide from 2 of them with 1 stack. Just to watch the damage coming out. There you go. That's 2 of them with 1 stack. So this is like the speed you kind of need to kill them. Then there's going to be 2 more ads. There's the time and the might. One of them just does tank busters, and one of them does percentage damage. I think it's 80% health he does, if I remember rightly. This is required tank LB. Wait, we got to play the sonic boom moment when the music changes. Defamation puzzles. These are stacks. These are deformations. So they need to stay away, and then these need to be close. You can get far ones as well. I think you don't get far ones on... No, you can get far on the first one. You can get far on the first one, for sure. Yeah, this fight's cool as fuck. I love this fight. This fight is really nostalgic for me. This was the first time I cleared a raid tier quite early. I killed it like week 2 or 3. And this is Radiant, which is in. You'd always get people forgetting, like... They would greed a second too hard and not come in for the in and fucking die. It would happen all the time. I mean, maybe not in this group, because this group was a lot better than mine at the time, but in my group, it would happen all the time. Now we're going to get jails. I don't think he's going to do the jail. Basically, there's a tank jail, a healer jail, and 2 DPS jails. And when you kill your jail, you can help the others. So they're sending in 4 people, and the other 4 are going to deal with crystals. Can we watch it? Is this... Claire with the crystal? I think it's Claire with the crystal. Yeah, it's Claire with the crystal. This is another mechanic that comes in T later. When the boss teleports... Sorry, let me break this down to the start, actually. When the boss comes close to a crystal, the crystal will pulse, and then it will explode for damage. Big proximity damage. Which means, number 1, you don't want him to go close to crystals. But... if you do get him close to a crystal, it means you know where he is. So when he teleports and goes invisible later, you can use the crystals to know where he teleported to. That's why you set them up in such a way that you do. So these guys, their job is just setting up the crystals here. And this will go on for like a minute and a half of just setting up crystals. And then the guys come out of the jails, they did their job, and then it's Inception. So now they know where the boss is, because they know where which crystal's going off. This phase is giga scary. This phase is the reason that for all of Stormblood, we had fights that just repeated. Because this is the hardest mechanic in the fight, and it's right at the end, so everyone would just set the binary, we need to skip this shit. Or it's probably a wipe. Let's just not learn the mechanic. This is why in Stormblood, they would just repeat the second half of the fight, because they didn't want this to happen again. So that's the first one. Even that's scary. This is an unbuffed raid wide. I'm gonna go into the second iteration. This one is the first one that has bleed puddles. So these are the bleed puddles. And then he's also gonna do sacraments. So you need to bait the bleed puddles and soak the void of repentances, whilst also dodging the fucking sacraments. And it does giga damage, and then there's a stack into raid wide into blast. It's such a fucking mess. I think this is reasonable. I think Living Liquid and Brute Justice are the best 2 Alexander fights. I think A6, A11, and A12 are great. Actually, I'm a bit surprised that this is the outcome. That 6 of the fights are below average. This is the only criteria that I consider a fight to be not good. Everything else is at least a pretty good fight. But it looks bad on a tier list, right? If you've got 6 fights that are like, it's okay or below. But I think that this one is like 6 or 7 out of 10. This is like a 6 out of 10 fight right here. It's only here that they become below average, because I think raids in FF14 are good. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please do consider supporting my Patreon or becoming a YouTube member like these fine folk, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day.